Hi folks, welcome to this video. It's been a while since I've made one and I'm trying to get back into it, but what I have for you here is a not working, or as far as the eBay listing goes, not working DMG. So I'm going to crack this open, just have a little look around, but I've got plans for this one, including the new shell, new screen, but we'll try and get it working, or we'll try and see what the problem is to start with as to why it isn't working in its current state. So I'm going to get this open. Right, so the lens, as always, in fact none of that's even remotely sticky. The adhesive over time dries, hardens, the UV kind of kills it. This has pretty much got standard UV damage to it. It doesn't look too bad, but like I said, I'm going to be replacing the shell anyway, so this could be maybe brightened up in a future video, but I'm looking at it and it doesn't look great. But anyway, let's crack some batteries in and just see if we get anything at all from the device. Okay, we get something. So just the contrast here. In fact, that's the volume, my bad. Contrast on the left. Zoom this in for you, quite hard to see when they're not backlit, these screens, but you can see it powers on and the contrast wheel works. So I'm going to grab a quick game and see if the game works. So one I had to hand, Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. Let's drop that in and see if it boots and reads it. Okay. So it's not necessarily, let's adjust the contrast here so we can see. Not the best. But yeah, you can see the logo there is completely, well, I'll say completely garbled. It almost looks like breakout, but obviously it's not reading the cartridge very well, so it's just the most basic way to fix this. Slide it in and out a couple of times and we get slightly less bricks, but still not reading it. So I can probably safely say this needs a very good clean inside. One last time. Even more gobbled. So basically I think it's probably going to be dirty. That's all that's going to be needed to fix this. Now that's good because it means I don't need to spend too long diagnosing and fixing the actual internals other than cleaning them. And we can get on to replacing the shell and installing the new screen quicker. So I'm just going to get my mat here. These screws seem to be very shiny and in a better condition. These are almost like brand new, actually. They're in a lot better condition than the overall console itself, so I'm a bit unsure as to whether this has been repaired before, but I can't see why you would replace the screws and not replace the lens or fix the lens or even clean it up. So whether I'm just making a blind assumption here, but to be honest, I'll try and get a better close-up of the screws, but they're in like perfect condition. So last one here. Like, let's get a close up of this. Like that to me is pretty clean. There's nothing on the actual length of the screw itself, on the body of it. Come on, focus. The head's nice and shiny, doesn't look chewed up or like it's been unscrewed before. So, I don't know. So let's just now I think it's just a pure wedge fit for the screen, because you can tell I've actually never taken a DMG apart before. I'm sure it's just a wedge fit for the screen, but I could be wrong. There we go. Yeah, it's just a wedge fit. There's no tabs now. So there's the other screw that wouldn't come out. There we go. So I've got it taken apart. Now, when we replace and put a new screen in, we get given this. Zoom out a bit. We get given this new PCB. This obviously replaces this one just down here, just like so. But we have to keep this one here, which I think is all to do with the power. Yeah, it's all to do with the power regulation and the rest of it. But this one is what we're going to use for our new screen. It comes out quite nicely. Now, I did notice, I'm just going to check the rest of this shell. Yeah, seems to be right. I did notice on this little PCB here, you can probably see it, there's like a residue left on it. Now, I don't know whether that's just from time, liquid, or what, but I'm obviously going to need to clean that up. Does it come off easy? It comes off very easy, so it could be liquid. Something spilt on it over time. Who knows? It doesn't look too bad. Okay, so I'm going to get that cleaned up, and then we'll cut back to looking at the new board and the new shell that I have. Okay, so I also found this little message from the person who I bought it off. It says, "Dear Joe, thank you for buying the Game Boy. You're my first sell. Best, Seamus." So the person on eBay that I bought this off, this was their first thing up for sale, which, I don't know, to some people can scream scam, but everyone's got to start somewhere on eBay. You know, everyone's got zero reputation when you first sign up, and you're pretty much protected. But anyway, that's beside the point. So what I have is I purchased the screen, and I also purchased a shell with the screen, as in from the same AliExpress listing. And this is I think it's called the DMG RIPS V3 or something like that. Some people might correct me on this. I bought this months ago with the intention of doing it months ago, but just was a little bit busy with various things. Anyway, so it comes with, as I said before, that PCB comes with a screen and a PCB as well for driving the screen and doing whatever. Obviously all stuff beyond me. A ribbon cable to connect from, or to get power from the board here to the new PCB. And then finally, I say finally, there's still a few more things. Some double-sided tape, I assume this is, a bracket and a lens. So it's just a generic shell. Quite cheap, to be fair. Doesn't mean it's going to be great, but there's some like trimmings inside there. I'll probably have to clean that out. So there's the back. This is obviously where our board will sit in, just like this. So we can go ahead and drop that in place. So let's see what these screw sizes are. These will be, they will be the shell ones, yeah. And these will be the inside internal screws, so I'll use these. Okay, so now it is time to start focusing our attention to the front shell, which is obviously going to house the PCB that comes with this to drive the screen. Now, because this shell is supplied with the aftermarket lens, it does come with any modifications that are needed to be done pre-done. So that's good for us. I don't need to bother trimming anything. I know if maybe you started watching this video to see how I do this, obviously in this one I don't need to do that, so I'm not going to. So sorry about that. But if we crack on with this, like I said before, it comes with this bracket. So the first thing we need to do is just get our screen kind of assembled, wrapped around this bracket so it's properly, or going to be properly installed. So it comes with this double-sided tape. I'm going to cut just probably 2 strips for the LCD and then 1 strip for this PCB here. And then what's going to happen is this is going to sit in between, kind of like this, and then that PCB is going to fold over the top of it. So the LCD is one side and that PCB is the other side, and it's like sandwiched between. And then you take that and it will sit and slot into place perfectly aligned in the shell. So you don't have to worry about trying to align it or anything like that. So for this, all you got to do is just find this little cutout, this notch down here. Obviously whatever orientation you got it in, but just look for that notch, and that's going to allow the ribbon cable here to fold around. So you kind of just got to lift up the PCB and then just give it a chance to fold back on itself. And then when you flip it over, now obviously I've not put any tape down yet, but the screen will fit into place. Now there is a bit of wobble and play here. So I'm just going to jump in here and I'll fast forward this, but there was an issue with the alignment. The bracket, it doesn't sit perfectly square in it, and I made the mistake of going with one direction compared to another. So what I ended up doing is actually sitting it too high, which meant the little cutout at the very top of the plastic, you can see the two at the very top of it there, the posts that they accommodate were then touching the LCD screen. So what I had to do was remove it. Obviously I'd already stuck it down with this double-sided tape, use some hot air to soften it, but be very, very careful, or ideally just don't make this mistake. What you're going to probably want to do is align it so the screen is at the bottom of the bracket as far down as it can go. Okay, that way it will give you the best viewing experience, and even in the final version that I have done, it's off by like a millimeter, which I was told the shell didn't need trimming by a millimeter because I brought one of their shells that didn't need the trimmings. But as with things that are aftermarket, you're going to get some tolerances that are a little bit out and cause a few issues, so just be aware of that. Okay, back to it. Okay, so I'm back. I managed to remove it. I used a bit of hot air to hopefully soften the adhesive here, but honestly, when it comes to screens like this, IPS, LCD screens, whatever, if you start trying to bend them, pull them, pry them, you have a very high chance that you're going to actually bend and break some of these. So I've got this the wrong way around, I just realised. Give me a second. Now I pray to God that this screen isn't broke. If it is, it's a new screen, which again aren't expensive, but waste of money. Okay, so that's in. Now I think it said to only do so many screws possibly. But let's go ahead and get a few screws in. Again with the smaller ones. Okay, so I'm probably just going to do 3 here, just kind of evenly spread out. That way, if something is wrong, you haven't got to spend ages unscrewing tons of screws, and 3 will hold that in more than enough. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I just realised I didn't take that off. That's fine, because I want to test it, and then I'll take off the protective screen for the LCD. So next, obviously, we need to put the speaker in. From the original, but like I said, I want to get this tested and made sure that it's working. And this is actually, I'm going to try it the other way around and try putting it into this board first, just like this. This is insane. Like, this is actually ridiculous. Come on, go in. There we go. Gee, that is a lot more force than I would have expected that to need. Right, let's get the final tab in, which goes in a little easier, I have to say. There we go. And then we'll just sit it down on itself, just like that. But rather than actually putting it all together with screws, because we don't need the screws technically. What is stopping this from sitting together? I don't know. But let's give it, or try to switch it on anyway and see what happens. There we go. Okay, so it works. I didn't mess the screen up. It seems to be perfectly aligned actually, in terms of how much border there is. we go. Fairly straightforward. One. I think that's good enough. There we go. Now the buttons will just have to, okay, maybe they don't fall out. So go ahead, drop in the new front lens, keep the protector on now if you want, and then when we take our screen back out, eventually get this out, Christ. Remove the protective film. Look at that. Beautiful. No fingerprints, no dust, he says. And then, is that a scratch? I hope that's just a scratch in the protective filament on the front, but drop it back in. Yeah, it's just a scratch on the front, cool. So drop that back in. Now there should be no dust between that, or very minimal dust anyway, and certainly no fingerprints. Then we can go ahead and drop this back in. Let's get the speaker in. I can't tell if that's in or not. Oh, okay, I think I know what it is. Might be some of these pins down here on the board, so I'm just going to get some flush cutters and just try and snip them away. Because that might have punctured that cable as I was squeezing it, which is not good. Right, okay. There we go, let's turn the sound up, make sure. Not getting any sound actually. Oh, I had it the wrong way, let's try again. Yeah, great sound actually, nice and loud. Nothing wrong with that speaker. It's just getting this to sit together, it's just being a bit resistive. There we go. Now, one last thing to do, and that's two more things to do, but remove this connector cover, because if I could get it out, this is just taking the mick. There we go. This shell comes with a clear replacement, which obviously matches, so let's drop that in. There we go, looking sweet. And then we can finally stick some batteries back in. We can now remove that front cover, and that is looking pretty sick. So one thing I will say is I think the alignment needed to come down a little bit, so if I set it kind of flat you can see, yeah, so for the future, I don't know how much that cuts off, to be honest. There's always something that goes wrong with mine, but there we go. That will sit on my collection as a backlit. In fact, let's try a game. I do remember the game's not being readable in this. Let's see. Yeah, so there we go. I've done a little bit of cleaning back and forth. We are reading, so Contrast wheel obviously does not deal with the contrast anymore. It deals with, oh, it's quite hard to, okay, so my camera died again because it loves to overheat, but it turns out I just had 2 of these screws a little too tight and it was stopping that wheel from moving. So yeah, scroll it down, reduces the brightness, and then if you click it in, you can cycle through all of the color palettes that it has, and then a special one which is kind of like, obviously these are black and white games, or kind of grayscale anyway, but it can apply some gradients or like different colors to different colors of gray. So you can add like a kind of colored effect. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but obviously it's just using different tonal mappings of gray and applying different colors to those different values. But either way, I am super pleased with this. The only thing I'm a little bit annoyed at is that it's literally a line of pixels covered at the top. So I'll probably look into seeing if I can drop that down a little bit further. But otherwise, yeah, that's first mod I've done in a while. I'm just happy to have finally got my hand onto a DMG and got that one done up for you. So I hope you enjoyed the video and find it somewhat useful. And if you did, then feel free to subscribe, like and comment and the rest of that jazz. But otherwise, thanks for watching.